right. Well, I'm looking at something right now, but it seems like Reggie, you're looking for something right now?
Dude, I'm kind of looking through my pickups that I got at a recent game show I went. So kind of getting pumped up, seeing what I got, man. It's pretty fun show. The Torg show,
Yes, it
which
was. Which, we
yeah,
both were at that one recently.
yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. There's like there's over 7,000 people there, dude. I wasn't expecting that, dude. I was talking so much I lost my voice, and it barely healed today. Recovered from it, but man, it was just like, man, it was just I wasn't expecting that, dude. It was like the whole venue of the vendor hall was like
Mhm.
as big as the Portland PRGE, Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and that's the usual show I go to yearly. And so I was pretty overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I haven't been to a lot of Ohio conventions before. I think the first one that I did was Torg last year, and I think that was around September. And I've been in like some kind of conventions like that before, where it's not like a very big venue, but at the same time, it's got that community where it comes together, and that's actually the first place I met people like. Well, what was the group called? I keep forgetting. Retro Gaming Pandemic, and they're now friends of mine because I've met them for like over a year. But it's cool to see it go from just being at a sporting complex to being in like a big size venue, like what you said for Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Has the
Right.
difference in like the surrounding area changed like any type of I don't know, like opinion on other conventions that can grow, or did it seem like it's about the same, not really much of a difference in opinions on it?
No, I mean, all of them have room to grow, because this event was only one day.
Hmm.
So imagine if they just went 2 days, which would have been really cool. So if they when they could possibly get to that level, and the free play room, which was consisted of consoles and stuff like that.
Hmm.
That was really nice, but they could expand on that by having arcade games and pinball machines as well. If they could do that, like if people can volunteer some of those items to use for the event, that's another way to expand this event.
Yeah, and I know that there's like some conventions that would work with other video game stores and sometimes with through sponsorships, and they'll get like a big section where they could have their vendor booth at and also be able to have the free play area set up. Which I think is like a good idea to be able to cooperate with all of these other companies, because that way you get to branch out with them and also be able to set up some like discounts if you wanted to for like a pass. It would be like 5% off when you order online or something like that. Is that something
Right.
that more conventions can actually implement to be able to use for advertisement, or is there like something more to it that they can do to be able to get the word out?
Well, I think they would probably get people's attention if it was at 10% instead of five. But
Hmm.
you know, I think I think getting people's attention for these type of events is just like promoting it, like with all the social media you can.
Hmm.
Facebook, word of mouth, YouTube videos, Twitter, Instagram. Use all those to your advantages, and the word will get out. Especially if you have maybe some kind of footage of what people have to look forward to when they go to your show. Pictures and stuff, how it's going to look, and things like that. That gets a lot of people like pumped up. Because as you saw yesterday, those people, man, they were ready to buy those games, man. So they love going game hunting, finding cool games to play. So if you have that kind of advertisement, or you
Hmm.
attempt to do that type of advertisement, the people will come.
Yeah, that was the other thing since you mentioned about it, because I remember when I had just got done setting up for the booth, that the one thing that I noticed, it was like, it was very slow to start. Like, I want to say, like, the first hour, hour and a half. And I was asking my dad, it's like, hey, could you maybe, when you go get some water or something, just check to see what's going on with the line? Because I don't think there's a lot of people coming in. And he goes out, and no joke, he comes back with like a shocked look on his face. And he's like, you may want to check later because there's like a couple of hundred people just like lined up outside. And no shit, I looked out and I saw that there were still people trying to come in, and it was already starting to fill up inside. It
Yeah.
was just crazy how many people have been coming into this one as opposed to last year's. But I think that that's mostly because people were just trying to get out of the funk of like the whole pandemic, because I know how like it's a big situation that was for a lot of people. Do you think that it's like now is the perfect time for people to come back to conventions, or do you think it's more of just people are just waiting to see how things go right now?
No, people want to get out of the house and they want to go travel. So I think that's the perfect time.
Hmm.
I think the event, like you were saying, how it started out. I think it's because it was early when the event started. I think it started at 9.
Yeah, I did.
So I think people are still maybe I don't know maybe waking up. Like usually events I know they go on around maybe 10 or 11. I don't know. Maybe
Hmm.
the extra hour counts. I don't know, but it really picked up after that first hour though.
Yeah, I did. And it's the same thing with one that kind of surprised me because you were also at the Cleveland Gaming Classic, and I didn't expect
Right.
to see you until I was like seeing you come by the booth, and I didn't recognize you at first, mostly because you had a different hat on, and then after I noticed you, you had that like shocked look on your face. But yeah, I'm just like really impressed with like how the convention scene is up in Ohio. It's so much different because for me, I came around a lot of like smaller convention sizes that were over in places like Alabama. Like the only other big ones I know of is I think it was like the Huntsville Comic Expo. They may have changed their name now. And then there's like some anime conventions, but there is Game Jam South, which I think they got their start a few years ago, and now they're starting to grow big. But the only other thing that I would be questioning about it is that what type of experience would you want to see any video game convention start getting into to be able to help with growth, or is it just a matter of it's hard to come up with any new ideas like that now?
I mean, I feel like a lot of them have reached their plateau pretty much. I mean, they're
Hmm.
as good as I mean the biggest one I've been to is the Game On Expo and the Portland Retro Gaming Expo,
Hmm.
and those events have done some amazing things. And I'll give you an example. So Portland has pretty much they get some of the best vendors I've ever seen to their show. The free play arcade is amazing, and
Hmm.
they have the console and they have the card games and all that stuff. And then they have like panels outside of that for people to go to, and they have a museum. They have this year actually they had Blockbuster. The last Blockbuster came to the show, and that was like going through a pretty much a time capsule going in there. So stuff like that,
Hmm.
I think is like creative ideas like that. I think are cool, but I think I feel like that's as far as it could go. But maybe if there's something else somebody wants to see, maybe they could go even further. But I feel like that's kind of like the biggest they could go. And in the Game On Expo, they have some of the best vendors as well, and they bring in like anime and cosplay type stuff into their event to make it a little bit different. So
Hmm.
um, I've been going to these events for like I think around 10 years now, and those events are the ones that I've been to that have really I think have plateaued. Like they're the best ones, and I don't know. It's just I don't know what else they could add to make them even better. What would be a better experience than what they already are. They're already amazing. So.
Yeah, there was another thing that I started to notice because there's like some conventions that are trying to implement, I think it's the Whatnot platform, and which is actually a pretty cool way to be able to get some extra advertisement in for the convention
Sorry.
experience. Yeah, the camera adjustments. But that's one of the things with Whatnot because I know that's like a new platform for other people to get the word out about their content. Is just sell merchandise and also to be able to chat with people in the chats. And I've used it a few times, and it's a bit different than doing something like Twitch or YouTube streaming or just like any form of like video editing whatsoever. But that's the neat thing about that is I think Whatnot brings in other social media influencers to do these type of auctions while at the con, so it gets more eyes on their convention. Do you think that that's something that they could do for those, or is it just still the matter of just them already plateauing to the point?
Immensely. Whatnot brings a lot of life to these conventions, so I think they can do really, really help a lot. I should have mentioned them before. I wasn't thinking about them, but yeah, Whatnot is. I think they are going to bring like a lot of I don't know. Like I think that just the way they are and how they've kind of like their platform is, especially when it comes to people selling games.
Hmm.
I mean, people get excited for games and the way they present them and them showing up to the events. I mean, I think they're really good for it.
The other thing that I noticed is that it's not just only video games. They, I think, also do like comic books. Coins
Yep.
is another big one. That one's not like a huge category on the website, but I've seen a bunch of people do like a variety of things. Have you actually used the website before, or is it just something that doesn't
Yeah.
really interest you much?
I use Whatnot so far since I've been on there. I use it about 4 times. I'm actually planning a new one in a couple of weeks to go on there.
Oh, nice.
Um, it's been a great experience. My first time on there was I messed up a little bit in the beginning because I think some alarm went off I couldn't shut off, so it was like kind of weird when I started off. It's like, oh God, come on! But it was really nice to be on there, and it was really easy to sell stuff. You know, instead of like going somewhere like eBay, Amazon, Mercari. You know,
Mhm.
people are ready to look at your stuff and they're ready to buy. So it was really an easy process, which was nice.
And that's the other thing that when my first time experiencing Whatnot was sometime around the spring of this year, and there was a wait period because they always had like a waiting list for you to be able to submit. I
Right.
think it's like photos of like some examples of what you're going to be selling on the website. And then you get into, I think it was like a Zoom or a Google Hangout thing, and it's like a bunch of people to ask questions. And then I think I remember my first stream that I did on there. I was confused as to why it was showing me, and then I realized that, oh yeah, I have to use the other side of my camera to be able to show what I'm selling. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was really crazy how neat it is to just do everything on your phone, and then you could just like
Hmm.
go through the list and just click on what you want to put up for auction and be like,
Exactly. Like
yeah, Mario.con.
you have your camera on the items, and then you have like a tablet or another phone or even a computer
Hmm.
to kind of like set up everything while everything's on camera. So it's really nice, really easy to do, and really actually just really fun.
And if the people from Whatnot are watching, this is just a minor nitpick, but I know that they could probably implement it for like a future update. I usually Twitch stream, and I basically use my PC to stream and have like the face cam and all that. If there's a way to be able to implement that for like an app source that you could put on your PC to be able to allow people like me who use OBS with a layout and just like transitions, that would make it professional. And honestly, they could probably compete against YouTube and Twitch if it gets to that point. So if they could do that, I mean, yeah, that's 100%. I'm behind that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Do
Well,
that.
oh, sorry, you were gonna say something. Sorry about that, Reggie.
No, I'm saying I can see that. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, especially with like a lot of how social media influencers like to tinker around with certain settings and to make it look more like it's QVC, if anybody even still uses QVC to buy stuff nowadays. But yeah, it's just doing a professional quality like that and some like pretty nifty transitions. I could see them like going above and beyond to pretty much compete with other streaming sites if they decide to eventually go beyond just the auctioning side of things. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump away from just the convention side of things and talk about
All right.
you, because this is your interview after all. With
Mhm.
you getting into video games, like going back as far as being a part of the army, and when you were pretty much a part of that, and I would assume that it was a lot of stress that came with it. When you were basically playing with video games to get your mind off of it, what was it about the PS1 with the screen attachment to it that made you want to take that with you? Was it because of just the graphics, or did you not have something like a Game Boy Advance around that time?
When I finished basic training, we went to AIT training, which is our job type our job training pretty much.
Mhm.
And when I got there, there were so many people trying to get into that job field that we were held over an extra 5 months. So I had to stay on the base an extra 5 months. So, oh man, um, we had to stay in. We were like they kind of in the beginning they treated us like we were still restricted from going out. So
Mhm.
I wanted some kind of entertainment. So we were still getting paid for being there, but we couldn't leave anywhere, basically. So I had one of my friends that was ahead of me because he could go off base. I had him go to the Toys R Us and buy me the PS1 with the monitor. And so I could play something in the barracks since I couldn't leave. So because basically in the barracks, you can't have a television in your room or anything like that. You go down to the day room and there's a television for everybody, but then people were like fighting over what they're watching. So I didn't want to deal with any of that. So I wanted to do my own thing. Now I had the Game Boy Color with the little worm light and everything, but that can only go so far. I'm a console gamer, so I wanted something, more, on the level. So my buddy bought that screen and I was playing that in the barracks. It's like, oh man, it was a great time. I remember I was playing Mega Man Legends 2, Strider 2, Mega Man X5 when it first. So I was good to go. But what was funny was we had a surprise inspection. So they were looking for and it was scary because they did it while we were sleeping. So here's how the barracks are. There's the girls' barracks and our barracks. So they did a surprise inspection on the girls. And then when we came out to a formation in the morning, they said, yeah, they tore up all the rooms. They took everything.
Oh,
you better have no controversy. Like, dang, dude. They made us wait outside and lock the doors to the barracks. I was like, dang, dude, my PlayStation's in there. They see that, it's a wrap. Now, if I got caught with that, it would have been a minor thing. Like I would have got in trouble, scuffed up, like pretty much I had to do all crazy PT and everything for a little bit. But if you got caught with drugs or something like that, that was immediately they kick you out of the military. So, or any kind of liquor too. So what happened was we panicked. So we just like me and my friends like, man, we broke out of formation without anybody seeing us, and we found a back room, a side window that they didn't see, they didn't lock. So we all hopped in there. I grabbed my PS1. I think I hid it on me. Which was hilarious, like a book and everything like that. I had this big jacket because it was cold, and I had it on me the whole time. And everybody else got their contraband out and everything. And then when they checked the barracks, it was funny because I had that thing on me the whole time while they were tearing up our room. And then one of the drill sergeants went in my cabinet where the PS1 was at. He's like, "Hey, what are these cords for?"
Oh no!
I said, I don't know. That's nothing. That's just some cords. Oh, well, you won't need them then. And he took them. I was like, damn, so now I can't play the chord. So he wanted me to tell him what he knew it was some kind of contraband, but he wanted me to tell him what it was, and I didn't at first. He said, yeah, we ready to talk, man. You come get your cords. And I said, man, I might as well go talk to him. So I told him what it was for. He laughed, and he gave me the cords back, and it was cool. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, that was the thing with the PS1. I'm sorry, I went way off track with that story.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, that's quite the journey to be able to experience that. Now, one thing I gotta ask is, when you did get it back, was there any punishment? Like, you had to do, like, a certain amount of push-ups or, like, go take a lap around?
No, they didn't treat us like totally like we were in basic training still. I mean, they started treating us like adults, of course, by that time. But, if the longer you're there, the more respect you get, I would say. If you're just getting there, then they kind of like push you around a little bit. But I had been there for so long at the time because we were holdovers that, we were like, I should have been graduated already pretty much as long as I was there. So no, they didn't treat us bad, but they weren't pushovers either. If you made them mad, they let you know immediately. So, try to stay out of their way pretty much.
Yeah, and try not to step on toes. That's okay. Yeah. But that's awesome. I love hearing stories about that because there's a lot of people that would either watch this show or anybody who has never had that type of experience before, who has actually been around pretty much any situation like that. When you were talking about basically it was like a lot of things were restrictive, would you say that you were around the time of like 9/11 when that was getting pretty much restrictive around that point?
No, I was still I didn't have to deal with the 9/11 situation until I got to Korea. So I was already graduated and at my duty station, and I was at Korea for a little bit. I think I was there around 6 months before the 9/11 thing happened, and that pretty much changed everything. We were on total lockdown. We had to check cars for like any kind of like a weird contraband or just some kind of, it was just insane. And it really changed the experience in Korea. I can't say that it was bad or like too bad or anything like that, but we were
Hmm.
just really restricted at that point, you know. So they kind of took away from the experience. But yeah, but looking back at it, I had a great time in Korea. I spent a year there, and you know, it was a good experience.
Yeah, and then the part of Korea you're talking about is South Korea, because I know that
Yeah,
that
North,
is, yeah, it's a
whatever
different
I said,
experience.
North Korea, like I was in the oh gosh.
I could
Man,
not imagine anybody trying to survive North Korea, because I've seen a lot of horror stories of people just doing vlogs of like their experience of going through it, and a lot of them have to like get their like stuff taken from them by like the people that are guarding, and it's like just making sure everything
yeah,
doesn't like get damaged. So I would not imagine anyone going up there, but a lot of the time when people talk about South Korea, like it's basically like you're going to Japan almost, because it's just clean everything, and it's just like the people are wholesome, and it's like even the food is fantastic. And that's been like
mm,
one of the places I've always wanted to like go to.
really,
Yeah, because it
okay.
just looked like it's the environment. Like, I guess the culture of it is always something I like to try new cultures. And when you were
Right.
there, what was like one of your things that you got to experience over there? Was it just not a lot of
Me,
stuff with you being out, or was it just everything there?
I mean, I liked everything, but my main focus was the electronic market. You know, I was into like video game stuff,
Hmm.
so I wanted to take my knowledge as far as possible. So being in Korea, I got to like deal with a lot of import games that I wanted to try out. I was able to mod my PS1 system to be able to play VCDs.
Oh,
So if people don't know what
nice.
VCDs are, they are the video. They're like the first video CD format before DVDs, I believe. So
Hmm.
my PS1 was able to play VCD movies. So I was watching movies through the PS1 screen now, and I got it modded in Korea. Matter of fact, my PS1 still has the mod from Korea in it,
Oh,
which is
nice.
insane. I still got the original PS1, man. It's just it. Well, the laser did go out on it, but we replaced that. So you know that happens. You know, parts wear out. But yeah, um, that thing still plays movies and everything. I had that made there. I found a lot of import games while I was there. It's just a really amazing experience going out with friends. Man, I would get too messed up, and then like when I got back, like trying to go back to work on the weekend, I was always like
Hmm.
hungover, so
Oh,
I
no.
stopped doing it. But yeah, yeah,
So,
because I don't drink, but my friends always wanted to go out and drink, so I was like, all right, let's go. And yeah, I just wasn't a drinker, but
yeah, it's
it,
more or
it,
less of a peer pressure type of thing, because I know how that kind of
it,
situation gets. Especially being
but
the gamer of the group, at least.
exactly. But yeah, that year went by so fast. Now that I'm looking back at it, and I wish I got to experience a little bit more while I was in Korea. You know, I feel like I always wanted to go back there,
Hmm.
but I guess it was always just a thought of going back because I couldn't find anybody who wanted to go back there with me. So I was like, nah. Everybody wants to go to Japan pretty much. That I know all my friends. So we're trying to go to Japan here pretty soon. But I threw Korea in the mix, and they're like, what? No, it's Japan. So that'll probably be my next overseas destination.
Yeah, it's like I know that everybody talks about Japan, and especially with me. But before I get to that, I'll talk about VCDs for a minute. I know that when I was like really into anime DVD collecting back then, I always wanted to try to get complete box sets. But the one thing that always annoyed me the most was that the DVDs were always expensive. It was like $20 for about 4 episodes. But then you look on somewhere like eBay and you see VCD complete sets for about $20 themselves. So you could be spending over $100 on the DVD for version, or you could just get the VCD version for about quarter of the price. And it's like, I don't know why
So
I didn't get that before.
we were young back then, man. We thought that was
Hmm.
the way. I mean, I remember when I first got into anime. You know, we were still doing VHS. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think the first anime I got into was a series was Tenchi Muyo, and
Mm.
on each tape it was like maybe 3 episodes, I think, and that tape would cost like $35, $40. It's like that was outrageous. You know, they were man at Pioneer Animation. I mean, I mean, I don't know, man. It was just crazy how they only put a certain amount of episodes on there. when they could have put more. And maybe I don't know, man. Just people like having their stuff. If something's already out, like already out in Japan, and they do the English translation for it, we want that whole set at once so we can watch it all together. You know, I don't want
Oh
to wait
yeah.
like months later to get 3 more episodes and 3 more, through the years. Like it's just terrible. But that's how they did things back then. So I don't know if they still do it now. But a lot of
Yeah.
series, like anime series, are on Netflix now. And they do the whole series, and you can just watch it all at once, which is nice.
Yeah, and I know that there's Crunchyroll and I believe Funimation, which I now know that Funimation is associated with Crunchyroll because they're bringing in their episodes onto their website. But the one thing that I do know is that if it's like simultaneous with like Japan and the US, they will do both the American dubbed version and then the subtitle version for online. So there's like
Right.
some companies that will still do that, but yeah, there's a lot of others that will do it all in one. But I just remember, and some people will know what I'm talking about this, but I know that back then, it was like how it was with video games back in the late 70s and the early 80s, is that you had all of these companies that had different video game consoles, and it's not like how it is nowadays where there's only just three big companies. But it was like that with anime, because like you said, there was like Viz Media, and then there was like ADV, and then there was like Manga Video, and I think it was
Mm.
Manga Video. It
And
had like the Gundam robot thing for the logo, and then it had the thing at the bottom. Some will know what I'm talking about for that. And it's like
yeah,
most of those are not around anymore. It's just Funimation. It's like that's the only way to
Funimation
get it.
bought out. Well, yeah, man. When Funimation got Dragon Ball,
Hmm.
they really took off from that point because they were releasing new episodes. Because I think Ocean, for whatever reason, they lost the rights to it, so Funimation got it. And once they got that, they started buying a lot of other. I mean, I don't know if they bought out other studios, but they became the most popular one, and then the other ones started disappearing. So um, they kind of took over all of it, pretty much.
Yeah, I know that at one point it was also Bandai Video was the other big anime company, and that was like one that had Outlaw Star was one of their projects that they had. Oh no, actually I think I'm looking at it right now because I've got my bookshelf of anime that's up there. But yeah, Bandai was also the company that had Suncoast, not Suncoast. I'm thinking of the video company, but it was shoot. Somebody, yeah, somebody correct me in the comments. You'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
like Gundam that they had on their brand, and then there was like a bunch of other animes that they had as well. But even, yeah, like you said, once they had Dragon Ball for Funimation, that it was like they were the go-to echelon of anime. But it was
Hmm.
originally ADV was like the top tier one because there was stuff like,
Yes.
yeah, Azumanga Daioh was like one of my favorite animes from them. Martian Successor Nadesco, and that's still like my favorite mecha anime out
Oh,
there.
ADV Films, man. I remember. I think the first one I bought from them, and I still love this movie to this day. Was Sonic the Hedgehog the movie?
Oh
Not the
God.
everybody knows. I'm talking about the cartoon version. Um, I still remember buying that DVD, and I was like, dude, I thought it was so cool because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but
Mhm.
Sonic CD is my favorite Sonic game. So the Sonic movie kind of feels like an expansion of the Sonic CD game. That's why I really like the way Sonic looked, the animations and stuff.
Mhm.
Now I can't really like speak for all the voice acting in it, but I thought it was pretty cool, and it had one of my favorite Sonic villains in it, Metal Sonic. I was about to
Yeah.
call him the Mecha Sonic,
Oh yeah.
but he was in it as the main villain. I thought that was cool. So have you seen that movie before?
The one time I remember seeing it advertised because they did their like previews at the beginning of ADV
Yeah.
DVDs, and they would always have it was that video AI girl, or I'm trying to think of the one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
one.
was like that one, and then there was two other trailers that they would show, and it was like this flashy little trailer thing, and then you would get to the episode. But I never
Yep.
got to watch the anime movie before. I always thought that it looked really well animated.
It's on YouTube, so you can watch it on YouTube in English.
There we go, because I think the only other bit of Sonic media that I saw was like maybe half an episode of Sonic X and I turned it off. I wasn't really too thrilled about it because it was just felt very corny at best.
Sonic X was actually a good series though. That's a DVD set or a Blu-ray set I need to try to get because I actually like that cartoon.
Yeah,
That was kind of like the last line of Saturday morning cartoons was that Sonic X.
yeah. I think they had it on Foxbox, and then it turned into 4Kids TV, and that was also around the same time that I really got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I started watching the anime, and then the card game came out, and it was like that was been a thing that I've played since. Has that been something that you've given a try before, or has it just only been video games?
No, just video games. You know, that takes up my attention enough. And then I love watching movies and stuff like that. And I'm a big horror fan for horror movies. So I add cards to the mix, man. Oh, man. I wouldn't be able to do YouTube.
Yeah, and on top of that, because a lot of TCG is just a lot of money. Because if people think that the biggest issue with video games is loot boxes, you clearly have not seen booster packs. Because if you're trying to get one singular card without having to buy a card from somebody or go for trades, you had to go buy packs. And this is like at most like $4 to $5 a pack for essentially 8 cards in a pack, and most of the time you won't even get the card you need, and it's like all a bunch of crap. So you're constantly buying these, and you're out of money eventually until you get more. But yeah, it's a hole that I don't wish anybody to get in. But if you want to save money and you like video game stuff, I would definitely check out Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. It does have challenge, and there's like other ways to be able to unlock it. But the best part is you don't even have to spend money to be able to get these cards. So it's like the best part about that game is the competitiveness too.
Okay, right on.
And some people may not care about it, but it's one that I play on stream at times, but it's relaxing when it's like a game of chess because you're always playing counter move cards to be able to counter the other opponent. So there's a bit of challenge with it, and the best part is you can basically play just about any style you want, whether it's defensive or offensive.
Okay.
All right, so the next thing, this is also tying in with YouTube-related stuff. You got your start back on YouTube in 2008, not just the Metal Jesus stuff, which we'll get to in a bit, but the first video, and I can't believe that this was what I saw, but you were messing around with, I have it written down on my notes, had to
Tabletop pinball?
Yeah, the Tommy Pirate Treasure Pinball Machine.
Yeah.
That is quite the mouthful. What? So how did that come to be? Why was it that pinball machine to be your first YouTube video?
When I was thinking about doing YouTube back then, this is before I even met Jason. I was thinking about doing reviews on tabletop pinball machines. You know, all the different ones. You know, I was thinking about really wanted to do that. But when I was doing that video, I was so like camera shy, and my buddy was filming it, and you know, asking questions, but I was all like just all quiet and just answering, just really like I don't know, just really fast and everything. I wasn't going into detail, so I was really nervous back then about it. So I even though I think the video has a lot of views, but after that video, I just stopped doing YouTube because I just said I didn't have a feel for it. And then I want to say I met Jason in around 2011, 2011. And when I was talking to him and he found out my knowledge about games, he thought I'd be great for his channel. And I was still kind of hesitant. So it took me like maybe a year or maybe like I want to say a year and a half, 2 years before finally appearing on his channel. But yeah, it's because of him, man, that I started taking YouTube seriously. You know, even when I was on his channel, I was happy just being on his channel. I didn't really want to start a channel again. I was just good with that. But a lot of people loved me on his channel, and they kept asking me would I start my own channel. So I finally did, and I'm gonna say I did it seriously. Starting in 2017, 2018, somewhere around those times, I started taking the channel seriously. I would upload videos, like show pickups and stuff like that, or do random stuff. I can't remember what I did in the early days. But as I found out that people, you know, that really wanted to watch my channel and know my knowledge, I stepped it up. So when I talked about games, I started showing video game footage, you know, making it look nice for them. So one of the worst things you could do these days, at least from what I've seen from people, is that when you talk about a game, make sure you show footage of that game, because the worst thing people they hate doing is like you show a game, then they have to go look somewhere else to see what the footage looks like.
Oh
That's why I
yeah.
always include it in videos. So I didn't do that at first when I wasn't taking it serious. I would just show pickups like, hey, I would say, hey, I got this drone racers game. It's cool and awesome, and move on to the next game, and like that. That gets that's okay to start like that when you begin for a couple of times, but you got to step it up and show footage because people like that. So if you don't start doing that type of stuff in your videos, you're not gonna advance pretty much. You're just gonna stay stagnant when it comes to like how your channel does.
Yeah.
So sorry, I went all out for that one.
Oh, that's okay, because it's interesting that you said that, is because I've noticed that it's not just you that does that for the videos to give it more of like presentation. It's like a dressing to go on top of the table that you bought. But it's also people like MetalJesusRocks and even Happy Console Gamer. They do the same thing, where sometimes they'll still be talking, they'll show the item, and then all of a sudden the footage will pop up. And that way it still keeps everything moving and gives it a little bit of presentation along with it. And the cool thing is, like, you don't have to do a lot of editing. It's just audio and video. You can sometimes take the audio out of the video that you're showing, but you can still put in like music if you wanted to, and then it'll blend into the video game audio, and then you can like go to the next thing, which people think that that's hard to put together. It's not. That is like the easiest thing to do for a video.
Like when I do my videos, of course I do the part where I talk first, then I add the footage in. I actually try to get scenes from the game that I'm talking about, like in that moment while I'm talking. Like I'll give you an example. Like my last video, I talked about Akari Warriors 3 for NES, and there's this part on the second level where they have these dancing soldiers. And I remember that as a kid, I thought that was so funny. I never forgot it. So when I talk about the game, I made sure to mention that in the video, and then show the part where they're dancing, kind of, and in the video, and did some funny tricks with it. And my friends got a laugh out of it because they remember too. But I think I always try to get the certain moments that I'm talking about in games when I'm showing footage. But you don't have to. But that's just something I do here and there. So.
And that's the other thing. Going back to Metal Jesus, I wanted to ask is like, has there ever been anything that he has recommended to use for your videos, or has there always just been you self-taught your stuff to be able to implement it into your own videos without, much inquiring of people's help?
No, I self-taught myself. Jason helped with a lot of sound issues I was having in the beginning. He gave me usually when I hit up Jason about a video, it's something real quick. You know what I mean? I want to because he video editing, man, is he's the guy to really go to, because he knows all the tricks and all that stuff. So he told me what was going on with my videos at first is I need to fix my sound issue, and I did, because a lot of the times I was talking, the music was too loud or whatever like that. A lot of people don't know how to, like, your voice has to be stronger than the music in your videos.
Oh yes.
A lot of people think music to the video is cool, but you got to make sure it's level. So your voice needs to be stronger than the music. So that was the thing I fixed in my earlier videos really fast, that he helped me with. But from that point on, I really just did it like I did my own thing. Jason would tell me stuff like, some parts shouldn't be so long. Like I used to have long intros. I cut those down. Long outros as well. I cut those down. Little issues, to keep people's attention pretty much. So he helped me with a lot of that. And I got better for it.
Yeah, that's the other thing that you mentioned about, is that if there's anything that I can say from personal experience, because I do a lot of video game documentary stuff on the side, and the one thing I always have the most trouble with is audio. Because there's sometimes, depending on people's perspective, sometimes they like it to where the audio levels are a bit more higher, or is like they need to make it sound more softer sounding. But I'm just now, like, learning after a year of really getting back into YouTube videos again, of noticing that noise normalization is, like, a very key thing to do for the videos. And I didn't realize this, because whenever I would do narrations for my videos, the audio would always sound so low. And I would always panic and figure it's like, well, maybe this upload will do it, but it's really the normalization part that is like key for it. So it's always a rough shot in the end, but it's one thing that I have always tried to get better at. So if the video editing part, you can learn that on the go, but to me, like, the hardest thing was always audio, and it's
Mhm.
amazing to see I wasn't the only one who had trouble with that.
Oh, audio, man. Jason's an expert at audio. Like, yeah, he's on point with that stuff. He used to do that stuff in his other job, and he's really good at it. So he knows how to do it properly, and he helped me out a lot. But yeah, audio, that's definitely key.
And that hopefully will help other people out, because I know that early on, when I remember making videos through Windows Movie Maker, and this is like back in like late 2000s, way before like I got my hands on Sony Vegas. And yeah, I just remember it was like there wasn't really much to it. It was just putting videos in and just like rough, choppy edits and like just the page peel transitions. That's like that I cringe at that nowadays, and I'm actually glad that I know how to properly do all of that now as opposed to that. So that is like
Right.
just a time honored end, or I don't know what you would call it, but that was oof, memories I don't want to have to relive again, I guess. Okay, so the only other thing, back to video collect, or actually before that, with Metal Jesus. When you got to be in his videos, how was it that you both got to meet up before to be able to get to work on that? Did he see one of your videos, or was it just a matter of,
No,
old acquaintance?
so we met. I met Jason because Jason, when he started his YouTube channel, I forgot how many subs he had when I first met him. It was around 20, 30,000 subs, I think,
Hmm.
something like that. I can't remember. Um, so he was out. This was back in the day when he go out hunting, garage sale hunting, yard sale hunting.
Hmm.
You know, all the games out there were so cheap. You know, Jason was on the hunt all the time, so he looked at Craigslist, found out my buddy had a store, and I was working with my buddy at his store, and he looked us up, and it was funny because our store was like in a hole in the wall place. So Jason couldn't find us for a couple of weeks. Then he finally found us. He came to the store and said, "Man, I've been looking all over for you guys. It took me 2 weeks to find you." I was, "Oh yeah, we're sorry. This is our store." And I was talking with Jason, and we became friends immediately. I was already giving him like knowledge about certain games he should check out, and he was telling us he's a YouTuber. He likes reviewing stuff. And I think on the first day, we let him take the I think it was a Jaguar CD
Hmm.
or Jaguar system or the Virtual Boy. We let him borrow that to do review on his channel, and I was giving Jason pointers on like when he does a review for the Virtual Boy. I think did I just say Virtual Boy earlier? Let him borrow that one.
I think you said
Jag-
Jaguar CD and then Virtual Boy after that one.
okay, so anyway,
Yeah.
Virtual Boy. I was telling him that the best way to play that system is laying down because you sit, you know how the virtual. You just sit down at a table, you're looking into it. It's like it's kind of weird, but you
Yeah.
lay down and play it, much more comfortable. So he actually did that in this video. But yeah, we became friends ever since then, and he wanted me to be in the video. And I think that was around 2011 when I met him. I think I said that earlier too. But yeah, and
Hmm.
we became friends. And he talked to me into going. Matter of fact, we went game hunting that year, and Jason found some cool stuff that year. And then I finally appeared on his channel. I think the first video I did on his channel was Hidden Gems. It was either PSP Hidden Gems or PS1 Hidden Gems. I can't remember. That was a PSP one
Actually, it
because
was
Jason.
PSP. I do remember that one.
It was so
Yeah.
PSP. I was wearing that Mario shirt
Yeah.
because everybody's cracking up. Mario stoned. And it was funny because that video we did two takes on our first two videos, and that video that you guys saw that
Hmm.
was me being myself. The other video, I don't know if Jason still has it. That's me trying to like act according, like I had to like present myself in a certain way. So I was very different in those videos. But the
Oh,
videos
wow.
I'm the best in is natural. So that's what we stuck with. I mean, I didn't know because being on camera, Jason got me ready for it. You know, it was I think it was pretty easy.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I was still nervous. How to be on camera. So he said, "Man, just look at the camera like you're talking to me or anybody else, like a regular person." Boom, I got it down with a T. And so I feel like those videos are a good example of how to, if you're nervous on camera, just be like how I was in those videos. Just look in the camera when you're talking, like you're talking to a friend or someone, and it gets easy from that point on.
Yeah, and I can imagine with that many eyes, especially with it being back then, like, it was still an ever-growing little place for people to just get their content out. And this was like before there was like all the DMCA stuff that was going on. People could basically put anything two and two together without getting a copyright strike.
Yeah,
And
well, those are the days.
yeah, it was way before all of this stuff that people have to go through hurdles and like all this other junk to be able to get your channel back up. Because I know that when I used to do anime parodies back then, I had to use like cam footage of like anime clips and had to put it in. It wasn't the best like operation possible, but I remember it took like maybe 5 years after all of that was going on that they finally got a copyright strike on the channel. But yeah, it was like anybody could use anything they wanted for their intro and not have to worry about
Yeah,
getting into trouble. But yeah, it's
it was
oh, sorry, go ahead.
it was crazy back then because people could have a video about like listed as one thing and then show like something else the whole video. Like that's people were getting away with that back then too because you get tricked into watching the video and it's totally something like, of a guy screaming or something like that. Or it says, "Oh, review of this system." It's like all kind of craziness on YouTube back in the day. I don't know if a lot of people remember that. So
Yeah.
YouTube had to kind of crack down on a lot of stuff, and music was the first thing that they mainly started cracking down on with the copyright claims, copyright strikes. So you have to be very careful about using music and everything. So, um, yeah, pretty insane. It was like a Wild West back then, if you think about it, on
Yeah,
YouTube.
it was. I don't know if it's still a big issue now, but I remember when there were people uploading hentai on the website, and this was like the parody hentai that they would just put into parts, and they just were up on there for like the first few years, and then it was like finally when they started doing takedown notices that they just finally removed those off. This was like a
That's
crazy
crazy.
time. Yeah, I know.
Wow. I
Uh,
know people were doing that. That's insane.
Yeah. All right. So, back onto that little part, because like in the Wild West period, because yeah, 30,000 subs for back then, and I don't think a lot of people seem to understand how big of a
Hmm.
viewership that you had back then. Because most of the time they see a million subs or like a few 100,000 as the ticket now. But it was like if you were over even 1,000 subs, you were pretty much
Hmm.
popular and people knew who you were in
Yeah,
the community. So I could,
exactly.
yeah, sorry.
It wasn't. I feel like back then it wasn't oversaturated like it is now, because a lot of people saw how cool it was to do like a lot of videos, and they stuck their hand into doing it, but they got to be so many people that it just the views started getting cut down, the ad revenue and all that stuff, you know. So it changed a lot of things. But back then, no, I mean, if I started YouTube a little bit earlier than after the ad apocalypse, I feel like I would have been like a lot higher than I am now. But at the same time, you know, things always change, and YouTube is not really. I mean, they could change plans anytime they want, pretty much. So, you know, but back then, I want to say that it was just more. There wasn't as many people as there is now. So I think that's a big difference when it comes to like growing a channel.
I'm seeing a lot more now where there's a lot of people that have changed their format, especially with like
Right.
how after the adpocalypse situation in 2017. And I think it's like after that has happened, there's been a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily say higher quality, but it's just more of like a certain consistency that goes into their videos where it seems like it's better to watch that style now than it would be for something like it is back then. But that's I don't know. It's like I'm seeing even longer video pieces that are usually like almost an hour. I know that there's like one channel I'm trying to think of that they have done a couple of hours worth of content, and there's Techie. What was it? It's that romance novel game that I'm thinking of for the PC Engine, and then it got for PS1 by Konami, I think.
Um, a
To
romance novel.
I think it's a dating sim, but it has some mechanics that he talked about in the video where it's very intuitive, especially for a Konami game. Geki
Talk about it.
Memorial. Tokigeki Memorial. I'm having such a hard time remembering what that is now.
No, it's all good. There's so many of those type of games, especially on the PSP.
Yeah, and I just
Or,
remember. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're good. I was just answering. Like, there's a lot of those type of games on the Vita and the PSP. I remember, but nah, I don't know if I ever heard of that one. I mean, trying to figure it out, but it's a Konami game, but I can't. I don't know.
Yeah, the channel's name was Action Button. I just remembered what it was, but they did for that one. They did Cyberpunk 2077, I believe, and then they also did the Final Fantasy VII remake. But it's those videos that they do like long presentation, like drawn out, like narration videos,
Hmm.
and it seems like those usually do good. Like I know the term is algorithm, but most of the other time it's just a lot of people like watching longer videos like that or just short clips. Has there ever
Yeah.
been times where you thought about doing something like that, or is it just only pick up
Um,
videos and other video play style videos like
I,
that?
I've done a lot of things on my channel: reviews, game pickups, game collections, podcasts. A lot of people, what they request from me a lot is they want to see new pickups,
Hmm.
and I have a lot of pickups I could show them. So I usually turn those into longer videos because of the watch time for videos. For pickups video, at least my pickups videos, like people will watch them all the way through. Like they love those things.
Hmm.
So another video, like maybe a review, they won't watch right away. They'll watch some of it and then watch the rest of it later. So some of the stuff that I do doesn't hold their attention, but pickups always holds their attention. And also like podcasts hold their attention that I do, which I rarely do those. I'm trying to get back into doing those. Um,
Hmm.
top 10 videos that keeps their attention. They watch those all the way through. But some of the other stuff, it just kind of like it really depends. So longer videos, I tend to like to have the pickups or maybe a podcast and watch those all the way through. So those do better for me. But if I do a game review, yeah, that sometimes it's like it depends on what game it is. So
Yeah, I can
hopefully that
definitely see
answers
that.
your
Yeah.
question.
It's a lot to take in, especially with how sometimes real life or whatever may be going on personally kind of just changes the schedule, but most of the other time you'll always have some kind of list set to the side in case you tend to forget unless it's something you are really passionate about and just be able to just toss that out for people to watch online. But if there's one type of video, like it doesn't even have to be the ones that you're doing now. Like if you want to just take a whack at it, like maybe a one-time deal, even if it's like a little documentary about a company that you are like the biggest fan of, what type of video would that be, and why would it?
Me doing a documentary, that would take up so much time. I'd rather watch them. I like
Hmm.
watching documentaries instead of doing them. But if there was a documentary I would do on a game,
Hmm.
it would definitely be on Steamboat Chronicles, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I would also do one on the Star Ocean series. Um,
Oh, nice.
I would do one possibly, but this is like a video that probably would take me a month to do, like getting all the research and everything. So it would have to be
Hmm.
scripted because I'm not going to just talk off the cuff in the video. I want to keep everybody's attention. So those possibly the Shadow Hearts games, I'll do something on those.
Oh, I can
The
imagine
history of
that.
those.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty awesome. But mostly just games that really stuck out for me over the years. And most of them are in the PS1 and PS2 era.
Hmm.
So it'd be a lot of games from those eras. But yeah, something like that I could definitely do. But man, the hours and footage and the research you got to do, man, people don't know. It takes a minute. Give you an example. Like you heard of a channel called My Life in Gaming,
Yes, I have.
dude. They so much, man. The research that they do, the editing they have to do, man. I think it takes them like kind of like months to get videos together. But with
Hmm.
that video when it's done, it's so well put together. It's awesome, and they're usually like an hour long or something like that.
Oh,
If I can remember.
yes.
Yeah, but it's like, man, that whole hour is like people are good for like the next couple of months for their videos because a lot of people are watching them. So if I went that route, I could do it, but you would see a lot less videos from me.
Yeah.
If I did without.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned about them because we actually had them on the show a few months ago, and they
Oh
were
yeah.
talking about like the process that they went into making their videos for YouTube. and especially talking about like RGB mods and like all these other
Yeah.
monitors and stuff. And it's just, I could imagine the amount of money and footage that they'd have to go into it, especially changing it out. And I know that there's like one video they have on their channel where they did like a behind the scenes type of thing where it's like he'll have the screen that he'll move over for recording, and then he'll look over and just play the game, and then come back to his desk and turn it back around to where he'll be able to edit. And it's cool how they like go for that much quality, but it's like they're still gamers, and it's like you could still be a filmmaker and enjoy movies for that matter.
Exactly. Exactly. So, um, man, I was actually watching one of their videos last night that they did on the Superboy,
Mm.
Super Game Boy, sorry. And because I just recently got a Super Game Boy too.
Mm.
I found one at the convention, so I was like really happy about that. And so I wonder what they said about the system, what are the differences between the original and everything. So I was watching that video, found out a lot of good information. So yeah, really nice people. I met them a couple of years ago at the Mo Game Con, and I remember I think it was Corey. He was trying to decide whether he should buy Dungeons and Dragons for the Sega Saturn for $100
Oh
at the
wow.
show. I don't think he got it. I think he skipped it. But it was funny
Man.
though. One of my friends that got me that game back in I think it was 2018. My friend gifted it to me, and that game is so cool, man. Like, have you ever played it before? The Capcom version of Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes, I have. Like, honestly, I would probably go as far as to say favorite beat 'em up right next to, I want to say Die Hard, because that was like, those were like one of my
That
favorites.
game's fun. Yeah, that is so funny. The quick time events it has and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons, man, that was like, dude, the characters were really different how they played, and that really helped with the variety with the game. I always use the magic guy, magic user. He's my favorite to use
Hmm.
in the second game. The first game I would just use the fighter, but the second game is one I love the most. I always use the magic guy because the spells are just brutal. But yeah, that's an awesome game. I actually got it on the PS3 recently as a physical. It's arcade perfect pretty much, and it plays in 1080p, which is nice. So
Yeah, especially, I don't know if the price is different than the one on the Saturn, because I know that
it's
the double set is pretty expensive for Saturn one.
yeah, I think the Saturn version goes for like almost 200 because you need a RAM
Oh
card with it.
God, yeah,
Um,
that's right.
and then that version is only 2 players. The PS3 version is all 4 players. But yeah, the Saturn version is definitely more.
Man, yeah, I gotta look in to see about getting the PS3 version, because I remember this was not even that long ago. I remember that the double disc Saturn version was like just barely over $100, and it's just
Hmm.
it like I guess the pandemic hasn't helped it much because it was like just not that, but it was like everything for any console just was up so much, and then honestly, if I didn't get my TurboGrafx stuff early on when I was collecting, that I don't even know if I would have been able to get something like Street Fighter 2 for PC Engine, or even my Turbo Duo that I was able to get modded for over $100.
Oh man, I feel like well, I want to ask you this: do you feel like the whole pandemic when it happened? Do you feel like games went up in price a lot?
No, because I guarantee you
Yeah.
that we were honestly at the point around 2019 when video game prices were just now coming back down after like the height of it was like around 2016, and that's when it started to go down. Um yeah, it was just, I don't think that video game prices would have been as crazy as they were now as it was back then.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's the assumption that I had on it, because I had a video game store open in Muscle Shoals, and right around, I want to say July of 2020 is when we moved out and moved up to Ohio. I don't have the store open anymore right now, but I
Mhm.
remember it was just at the moment where it was people were just getting to have to be at home and not be in the offices, that it was just they were always asking me for curbside pickups of just like other games. And I know that some people were needing money to be able to make ends meet, so they would always sell me some other like RPGs. I know like one of the big ones we had like an Earthbound and maybe about 4 Chrono Triggers that came in like the span of like 2 weeks because people were
Wow.
just needing money for rent at that time. But yeah,
Right.
it was crazy just how many good games were coming in around that time. But it was even worse was like every single week people would just ask about certain games, and I would be checking on to see like where we're at, and I noticed that prices of everything slowly skyrocketing up. I know like one of
Hmm.
the and I know that I'm talking about myself a lot, but
No, you're good.
one of the biggest shockers was Klonoa, and Klonoa's series to me is like one of my favorite games of all time.
Dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the PS1 version, I remember before it skyrocketed up, it was like, honestly, it wasn't even like $200 for a complete copy. And then I noticed that it went up to like $500. And
Hmm.
I was just like, I remember getting this game for at retail price back in the day. What the heck happened here?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that game sold so poorly that
Hmm.
I think it only had like maybe a one, two, maybe two print runs, maybe just one print run,
Yeah.
and it just became sought after a while. I think it really started going up when the PS2 version came out. Like I remember I saw it for $80 at that time,
Hmm.
yes, or a little bit after that, $80 or whatever like that. But then I think around in 2013, I saw it going for like 120 or 50. I can't remember what it was
Hmm.
because I had a version of Klonoa, but mine was beat up, so I traded for the better version and got that one. So I paid the extra money. But I don't know, man. That game just trickled up in price, and now I've seen it go for almost $700. And I don't
Jeez.
think it will come down because that version is unique to the PS1. The Reverie series that just came out with consists of part one and two.
Hmm.
Um, they used part two graphics, I believe, in that game, so it's not the PS1 version exactly. So that version is its own thing, which is kind of cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, the price for that game, man. So many game prices, man. I mean, it's insane. Like when I was at the Torg event, I was looking at prices and I saw stuff that I owned. And I had no idea the stuff had jumped up in price like that. I was like, wow, maybe it's time for me to sell a little bit, jumping on this action. I was just like, dude, it's insane. The prices that a lot of games are going for, but people are paying. That's what I noticed. Even at the show, I noticed that people weren't really like trying to haggle. They wanted something. They said, all right, here, I'll pay the price. Boom. They would. I think some people asked for a deal like, if I buy this and this, will you throw this in? And then people say, yeah, go ahead. There was stuff like that going on.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that
people were buying. A lot of vendors were happy or were smiling. So at that show.
Yeah, that was the one thing that really surprised me since you mentioned about that. I was really shocked that there was not a lot of people haggling. Like, it was like maybe at most, I think I had like about 8 people that were willing to haggle. So that was kind of the shocker because they all came up to the booth, was like, how much is all this? And it's like, the $20. They didn't think much about it. They just gave us $20 and went on. And I'm not
Yeah,
saying everybody to do it, but I expect some people to at least do it because that's the fun of it. And I like getting rid of stuff too.
if you do it, if people do it, make sure you're polite about it. Don't
Hmm.
be aggressive against people, and also like do it in a polite way. Like I barely haggle anymore, but I did at the show a little bit towards the end. And I said, hey, I just asked you, hey, are you firm on this price? And they look at me and say, all right, what are you thinking? And I hate that part because I figured like they would
Oh,
give me a
yeah.
price. I don't want to lowball them and it'd be disrespectful or whatever like that because they're giving me the chance. I'm like, man, well, should I take this opportunity to say what I really want or say what I think is fair? So it's like, dang. But sometimes I just go for it, and the way I come off is really polite, so they're always polite back. Even I think one guy I tried to haggle with, I gave him a price, and he's like, oh, that's too low. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect you with that. He said, I'll
Hmm.
do this price though. That's a good price too. Still, it was over what I wanted to pay, but it was really cool. It was a really cordial conversation, really polite. So I felt good, and I felt like I go back to him and I could, and buy that item.
Hmm.
So yeah, just if people hackers know what you're doing, don't be rude because if you're rude, you're just ugh. Some people don't
Yeah.
know don't they're being rude sometimes. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
towards the end, I got this item here. I'll show you real fast. And I'm not going to open these up. This is more of a novelty.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
got this Donkey Kong Jr. Game and Watch. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, I know my light.
Oh, wait a minute. Was that the long booth in the middle that had I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of what it was. There was like a wooden shell Game Boy, I think
Oh,
it was one of
oh,
the
no, 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 no.
items. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this was at that Blanc middle. This version.
Oh, okay.
He had
Yeah,
the
I gotcha.
1998 version of it.
Hmm.
And the reason I wanted to pick these up because when I worked at Rite Aid when I was a teen, and we had these in our store. So I remember I picked them up back then. I opened them and put them on my keychain and everything like that. But back then, though, everybody kept grabbing my keys because they wanted to play them. And, and I misplaced my keys, so I stopped putting them on my keychain. But these things are cool because they come with these little stands on them. You can actually have them sitting up, upright, so you can set them up somewhere as decoration. But I bought these more as a novelty, and I haggled a little bit. So yeah, I got them for the price I wanted.
And that's the other thing I wanted to mention about since you were talking a bit about haggling closer to the end. There's one thing like from personal experience because I've dealt with a lot of conventions and it doesn't happen like often, but it's like ever so often it will happen. There'll be somebody who will pick up like an item for $10 and another thing that's like $15.
Mm.
Usually like $5, $7 I'd be okay with because it's like it's not gonna hurt me much and I know what I paid on both. But if you're gonna come at me and be like, hey, would you take $10 for both? I'm gonna just decline and be like, no, because number one, that's too low. If it was half,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could work out a deal from there, but don't go too low or like less than half. That's like just gonna
Yeah,
rip
yeah,
me
that's rude. And what I usually try to do when I'm at somebody's booth and I want a deal, I look for more than one item, of course,
off.
to buy. You know what I mean? So if I buy all these items here, would you sell me this? Would you sell to me these for me for these a certain price? The price is fair, of course, usually. And the guys usually say, yeah, if you buy all this, I'll hook you up with a deal. Perfect. So the more you buy, the better deal you'll get. I feel that's the best way people should approach things too. Like, don't look for one item only. Look for a couple items, to add to it. Then they could possibly work out a deal with you. But don't, man. How much was the item again? The guy
Yeah,
tried to
it
offer you
was.
10.
I'm trying to remember. It was one NES game that I think was like $10. Shoot, I'm trying to remember if it
So buy
was.
one get one.
Yeah, it was essentially that. He thought it was like a buy one get one free deal. What is like, no, we're not doing that. Maybe a buy two get one free, but yeah.
Yeah, buy two get one free. I could get that, but that's insane, man.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
don't know, man. People will learn as they go on, I guess. But you did pretty well at the event, right?
Yeah, we did way better than I was expecting, but I mostly put blame on me selling off my Panic restaurant, and I hate the fact that I had to get rid of that. But I've got a
You want,
PC that I gotta upgrade, so it's like all of that money is going directly into that.
well, look at it like this too, man. You can play that game on your new PC if you want to play it again.
That's true.
Games like that become like that pricey. I mean, I I, I have no problem letting them go. Well, I shouldn't say that
Hmm.
because if it's a PS1 game or PS2 game, I won't do it because I have
Oh yeah.
expensive games. It just does nostalgia behind them, but like something else for another system, I could probably do like an NES game if I had one that was going for that price. It's gone. So
Yeah, and that's the other thing I'm noticing now, and I'm pretty sure that if companies like Limited Run or I think it's like I am 8-Bit that are doing like physical reprints, who's the company that did it for Metal Storm previously?
that's Retrobit.
Yeah, Retrobit. That was the one I was thinking of, not I am 8-Bit. But yeah, that's the
Ugh.
one thing I'm noticing. A lot of these companies are doing expensive game reprints. They did it for
Yeah,
Metal Storm and Gyrus or Gyrus.
Sky Artist. Yeah,
Gyrus.
yeah.
Yeah, it's still hard for me to pronounce that, but that's the cool thing is they were talking about that on a CU podcast where it's like, what games would you like to see reprinted? And I think they mentioned about games like Panic Restaurant, and I thought to myself, is like, there's a good chance they could do that because I don't know who has the license to reprint those. I don't know if it's Square Enix or whoever has the rights to Taito now or Tato.
It is Square Enix. They still, yeah. They own. I think they own title. So, I guess they would have to go to them. I know the next games that they're doing right now that people requested. They're doing the Valis collection
Oh,
for
yes.
Genesis.
Mhm.
They're doing that one. I think they're doing Glade Lancer, and they're doing Battletoads Double Dragon for Super Nintendo.
Oh,
Those are the
yeah.
next they're doing. I was hoping they would do some games that didn't get ported to America. Like, you ever played a game called Oh my god, I just forgot the name of it. It's called I own the dang game too.
What does it play like?
Well, it plays like Prince of Persia and has like cinematics from Ninja Gaiden.
Cinematics from Ninja Gaiden. Shinobi?
No, it didn't get released in America. I don't know why I just forgot the name of it. I just talked about it in 2 videos, and the name just passed me. I'm sorry, folks. So many games sometimes. Even I'm starting to forget names of games.
Oh, that's okay.
But games like that, I would love to see them put out. But the problem is that it's finding out who owns the rights to them, which is hard for a lot of games, unfortunately. So there's a lot of people like suggesting certain games, but finding the rights for a lot of them is tough sometimes. But Retrobit's got a lot of good ideas, and I'm looking forward to a lot of their releases. They just put out Avenging Spirit and Battletoads and Double Dragons for the NES, which I got. That cart was perfect, man. I couldn't believe how cool it was. I was like, dude, if it came out like this back in the day, this game would have sold out. So it was really, and that's the version of the game I never really owned. I owned it once and I got rid of it. Got rid of it through a trade. But you know that game actually has a port on the Game Boy system?
Yeah, I do remember seeing about that getting a port on there.
So obscure. So obscure. On the Game Boy on all systems, really? Wow.
Yeah. It was kind of like how it was with Killer Instinct for the Game Boy. I actually like that version of it, because I know that a lot of people don't really care much on it. And it still holds up. It's way better than the Street Fighter 2 port, for all I know.
Oh, that was horrible, man. Jeez. What were they thinking? They weren't thinking. They was like thinking, like, hey, we'll get money. Better too. We'll make a game, put Street Fighter's name on it, and we'll make some money.
Yeah, same thing with Mortal Kombat. I don't remember playing Mortal Kombat on Game Boy. I played it on Game Gear, because it was a buddy of mine's back in elementary school, because he was like, I can play Mortal Kombat with me on the go. And I was like, no, you can't. And he basically brought out, is like, yeah, here it is. It played just like it was a Master System game, because I was like only one of the few kids at school that actually played it.
I just remembered the game's name. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
It's called Moon Crystal for the NES.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
You ever play that one?
No, yeah, that's got like anime art on the label, don't it?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
It does. And it has cinematic, it has storytelling like the Ninja Gaiden games. Ninja Gaiden games for NES, I think, have the best storytelling. The cutscenes at the end of a level or beginning of a level. So well done. Moon Crystal does the same thing, but it has a Prince of Persia type gameplay. So if you ever played a Prince of Persia game on the PC or NES system, you'll know how the game plays a bit. So cool, man. Except think about Prince of Persia without those pits falling and you falling into a trap. Whatever. So yeah.
Well, since you mentioned about Japanese exclusives, there's one game that never came out here for the US that when me and a buddy were playing it through Taito Legends, it was on there, I think. But it was Elevator Action Returned, I believe is the name of it. That is like phenomenal, especially for like having like the 2-player co-op. Like, if you want to talk about a sequel that outperforms the original in every single way, it's like that's the one I go to every single time.
Is that game expensive on the Saturn now?
Yes, it is. I checked on it and it was like a few $100s for the Saturn version.
I have it on the Taito collections, but it only outputs to 480i. So it's kind of looks weird, but still I have a version of it, so that's good. But yeah, that game is freaking fantastic.
Yeah, it's like that one and the Dungeons and Dragons game for Saturn, but I'm probably just gonna get the PS3 version since you mentioned about the difference on it being better for PS3.
Right.
Okay, so we're winding down to, I guess, the final part. I would do 5 count for this, but I didn't think you had like any creators you wanted to shout out. But we'll get to this one last question.
Okay.
Since we've talked about like a lot of video game platforms on this show so far, of all of the ones that had not sold well in the US, and I have 3 names specifically for you to choose from, what would you say is the one console out of the 3 you wanted to see have a longer lasting lifespan? Sega Dreamcast,
Sega
PlayStation V.
Dreamcast.
You didn't even
Always
let me
Sega Dreamcast.
finish.
That's gonna be number one no matter what. I'm sorry.
That's okay. The only other 2 I had was PlayStation Vita, and then the Vectrix was the only thing. So, yeah,
No,
I think that's like a
Dreamcast.
no debate type of moment on that because, yeah, Dreamcast was phenomenal for arcade
two
ports.
years.
Yes, it
2 years
was.
before they could abandon it. I mean, it was still going live in Japan, but I was so I remember reading the article like saying Dreamcast is shutting down, like they're pretty much closing down the development for it. And I was like, are you serious? They just
Mm,
came out. I mean, Dreamcast had one of the best launches in video game history. I remember people were like that date 9/99/1999.
hmm.
People were wrapped around blocks like trying to get into. There's still pictures on the internet of people like going to EB Games
Oh,
to get
yeah.
there. As everybody was so pumped up because finally had arcade hardware on a system. Like you could play pretty much arcade perfect games on that system. It was amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the other thing since you mentioned about that is the one thing from video game collections I've always seen as far as like kiosks, the Dreamcast kiosk is the one I see so often because not only is it small and compact, but at the same time it still looks futuristic looking. Like it just looks like something you would see in like a space movie where it's just like a sphere little globe thing and then you got the controllers that pop out. So it's I don't
Hmm.
know, the design of it is just perfect for a game room to have.
Yeah, you're probably right. Um, you know what I'm happy with though? When I was at the show, there's still Dreamcast games being made for the system,
Oh
which is
yeah.
nice. You can believe that. It's like, man, this is awesome. I mean, long live the Dreamcast. You got me in a Dreamcast mode now.
And that's the other thing with that is I know that there's one that I have not picked up yet, but it was when both you and Middle Jesus were doing a video for pickups. One of you mentioned about I think it was Blue Dolphin or
Oh, Dolphin Blue.
yes, the side scroller shooter. It was just like the
Yeah.
beat 'em ups game, whatever they call it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I remember just seeing it from there, and it's like, wow, this is something I would have played back in the arcades. And lo and behold, it was an arcade game that got ported over into Dreamcast style. So that's
Yeah.
the one that I would definitely like to be able to try out one time.
That game is fun. Yeah, so they ported it to the Dreamcast, and it's part of the Thomas Wave hardware of
Hmm.
games, which they you had to have the Thomas Wave system to play those games. So finally, years later, someone finally ported it to Dreamcast, and it took them a while, but they got those games to work pretty much. Well, most of them to work perfectly on the Dreamcast. The only thing with Dolphin Blue is that between levels, the load time may be about 45 seconds to a minute. But once it loads, you're in for some action. But yeah, just it's just crazy that they did that for those games. I never thought I would be able to play Dolphin Blue because I always try to find an emulator to play it,
Hmm.
and it just I just couldn't get it working. But now they ported it to Dreamcast. I'm good to go.
Yeah, like I said, I'll have to try to be able to burn me a copy on that, or just get somebody to do like a professional print of that, so be able to, I don't know, give that a try one day whenever I get through my huge backlog of games right now.
Right on.
All right, so we pretty much got through the whole recording. I'm kind of surprised because I'm looking at the timer right now and it's like way past what I thought it was gonna be. But this was a pleasure. Thank you, Reggie, for being on the recording. I didn't know if we were gonna be able to get to this, but hey, we finally made it happen.
Yeah, definitely. I know when I saw you at the event, I said, man, we got to make this happen. So finally made it happen.
Yeah, it was. So, actually, we'll do like a quick shout out. So, if you have like any content creators that you can think of, feel free to mention about them before we end the recording?
All right, first one, we're gonna give a shout out to Fat Samurai Guy, always giving us good horror content, movie reviews, Media Glitch. Media Glitch is on TikTok now, but let's give him a shout out anyway. Media Glitch, Joe Valley, putting out has great content on his channel. Definitely check it out. Who else? I'm trying to think of this. Now a rush of people just came to my head. But I would say those two. The main guys. You guys definitely should check out, everyone. So.
All right, excellent. So we got some shout outs. That's technically a 5-count segment, so we'll definitely have some more maybe next time whenever we do a follow-up interview. But Reggie, Radical Reggie, once again, thank you for coming on for the recording. It was an honor to have you on, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you.